Well, so you guys talked about AI first in your consulting firm. First, tell us a little bit about Launch.
So we've been helping companies use technology across their organizations for almost a couple of decades.
Yep.
So classic digital consulting firm. Today it's classic because we know digital, but been through the, whether it's helping companies solve their digital platform, building out their intelligent organization, building out digital products, applications, services, all the way up to customer and employee experience.
So 20 years ago, this might have been building websites or something like that.
We started with websites. We went through, we did the Web 2, we went to mobile, and then obviously cloud, and now we're at AI.
AI. Okay, so what does that mean?
That's a great question. So for us, it means, and I think really get to the AI first component.
Yeah.
The way we think about it is approaching every situation with a consideration of how AI could move the needle or have an impact in that scenario. So whether it's we're looking at a call center or we're building an interaction service for a customer, how could AI play a role, and especially generative AI, to advance that experience, to make it much more significantly valuable, and also increase the productivity of the teams that are working to deliver those solutions? Because software is expensive. It takes a long time to build. Processes, writing briefs, analyzing. One of the big things we do is we get in and understand what companies' processes and experiences are today, synthesizing all that information, utilizing generative AI has been a massive improvement for our process to be able to bring that data in quicker and be able to apply it much more efficiently.
Well, and so you're dealing with small companies, large companies,
yes.
a bit of a mix? Both, exactly.
So we have, our biggest customers are Microsoft, Uber, Expedia, Carnival Cruise Line, so large, scaled Fortune companies, all the way down to we help startups and organizations. And also a big thing that we do is that these organizations that have been building and growing over the last 5 to 10 years and now have this size and scale, and they're dealing with data problems from acquisitions or just their growth, where they've now grown up, but their back end systems haven't grown up with them. And so they're dealing with all kinds of difficult challenges about how to modernize their organizations. And so because we've done it for the big players, and we cut our teeth and grew up in digital with Microsoft and these other companies, we get to apply those learnings and experiences to a broader set. And so it gives us a really interesting flavor across the ecosystem. Well,
so you tell me if the question I ask you is proprietary or not, but I mean, what are you seeing? What do you think is going to happen in the next couple of years? I mean, we're 1 year in from Chat GPT, right? We're at GPT-4 already. I openly confess I use 3 or 4 of the chatbots for research purposes. It's great. But it's clearly a sort of moment. We're at a threshold, very much like the moment everyone had access to Google.
Totally.
And, what do you think is going to happen the next couple of years?
Well, I think first of all, we talked a bit in our talk about sort of the human component and the ability to apply it and adopt it. And we talk about, we've seen this consistently, how people are taking maybe new technology and applying it in the same approach they might have in the past. And it's sort of like if I had a large combine out in the field, but I was using mules to pull it, right? Because I'm not really applying I've got this piece of machinery, but I'm still using archaic in some ways methodologies. So I think when you think of, that's a big piece. And then over the next 2 years, we're going to get really comfortable with using these. You're using 4. I don't want to admit how many different tools I've tried and played with. Because I might be slightly embarrassed about it. But I've fallen down the rabbit hole. I've yet to find the bottom of the pool, let alone the sides, because there's so much happening. And so we're kind of almost paralyzed by the volume,
honestly.
And it's exhaustive almost, right? So I got to know that you got to felt the same thing. So you think 2 years out, there's a few major things that'll shift. One is humans are going to go, oh, okay, I get it now.
Okay, I don't need to do that because I can do this.
Yes. Yeah. And they'll start with, and it's what happens every day, that having an AI first mentality says, instead of going and doing it the way I used to, I go, how can I apply AI to that and jump right into it? And I'm finding that we're creating faster and iterating faster before we used to like design, plan, think. So we're changing our methodology, but so that's going to shift. The other thing is that we're going to start having much more clarity on what these tools are. Think of just Copilot from Microsoft and with their GitHub piece. They're sort of establishing sort of what is a set of rules around what a product functionality is. We now know what a smartphone is. There was a time where we didn't know what a smartphone was.
That's right.
And yet I would argue that the leap of the adoption curve, the ability to utilize a touchscreen was much simpler. That was maybe one of the most amazing things that Apple brought to us, right?
Purely physical kind of interaction.
It just worked. It was magic.
Yes.
This is magic you have to kind of work at.
It is like how you do the prompt, right?
Exactly.
There's a skill that you have to
And it
develop.
doesn't always work out.
No.
Every time I would swipe on a phone, it would do what it was supposed to do.
Right.
I'd tap on an app and
Yes.
it would magically do things. And I loved yesterday the comparison to how applications in the past, there was an expected outcome, right? You'd almost project, if I do this, it's going to do this. You know, we taught people the process. Right. There's now sort of this AI-powered applications are going to not be predictable. They're predictive.
Yes.
And so they change the way we think about interaction. And so the humans are going to change. That's a big one. The next one is the silicon and the models. We're going to understand what those models are and what those roles are. There's going to be this recipe, these wide volume of, think of an app store.
Sure.
And I can totally see an app store for models,
Yeah.
you know, and going, oh, this one's great for this. It's got a bunch of reviews. I've got a bunch of feedback. Oh, that's fantastic. I'll choose that model today because I'm working in this situation. But right now we're trapped by silicon and energy. And I think what we've heard over the last couple of days is there's some really amazing folks working on that. I think we're going to solve those issues.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, it's funny because I'm in the nonprofit sector, but I can tell you that people in the nonprofit sector, you'll have interns, you'll have research assistants, and a few months ago, I had some colleagues, and they said, "Well, my interns always help me with bibliographies." I said, why are they doing that? I mean, why didn't they just use one of the chats? You can pull up and do this in 30 seconds. And he said, well, then what would the interns do? I said, I don't know, but if they know how to use this, they're going to actually do something else. But don't have them do what the chatbot can do really well. You know, and that's it. That's just where we are. We're all learning that, and there's that feedback. Yeah, we think of the technology as a tool, but it also sort of changes the way we work and the way we think as well. You know,
and that's the biggest transformation. And it's not, a lot of times we think about maybe the information workers, and there's a lot there, but leadership is about to go through a completely different renaissance, I think, because our ability to have access to information synthesized, processed, you know, building awareness and understanding of content to make faster decisions. One of the things I love about ChatGPT and AI, it might give me some funky answers.
Yes.
But it doesn't care about what my title is. Few leaders have somebody in their organization that will always give them exactly what they think based upon the question, 100% of the time, and continue to work through the process. And so I think leaders that adopt ChatGPT and other generative AI technologies are really going to have a big leg up on their peers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, I'm telling my children that. Trust me here. This is the way to have an edge, is learn how to use this stuff.
That's right.
Russ Whitman at Launch Consulting. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining me. I'm Jay Richards, and we are at COSM 2023.